Hey guys, thanks for tuning in, and don't forget to subscribe. The space station is busy getting ready for Long Island Tropic-Con, so they asked us if we could take over the channel for today and rank some of our favorite Hanna-Barbera cartoon characters. I hear their leader, Eddie Crash, is a big fan.
Eddie Crash, that big fat Italian pothead, what a joke. He claims to have a podcast, but it only has 10 episodes on Spotify from like 2 years ago. Sad.
Cut him a break. Donnie the Band released a whole album, went on tour, and has been organizing music festivals all year. Plus, I heard he's been working on new music with that tokusatsu fuckboy Starman.
Sleepy Joe, you just like him because you're both easily distracted and riddled with dementia.
That's enough out of you two. Now let's remember that we're guests here today and that Crash is counting on us. First up on the list is Captain Caveman, and I'm going to say this is an immediate S tier. Captain Caveman is an absolute giga-chad with baddies on speed dial and iconic catchphrases for days. Plus, seeing him as an Easter egg in other Hanna-Barbera properties is always a treat.
Captain Caveman!
Unga bunga, you guys are out of your fucking minds if you think Captain Caveman deserves an immediate S tier. Literally, nobody watched that show, and at this point, he just serves as a weird cameo for sleepy boomers like Joe and weird hippies like Crash.
Come on, Donnie. Captain Caveman is a rad superhero, and his design was a cool departure from Hanna-Barbera's usual shtick of just turning old Hollywood actors into random animals. I think he at least deserves an A tier.
The only reason you like Captain Caveman is because you're both thought-out Neanderthals from dinosaur times. Stick that big-nosed hairy galoot in B tier and let's move on.
I can already see where this list is headed, and I don't like it, but we've got a lot of characters to get through, so let's just split the difference and say Captain Caveman goes in A tier for now. Next up, we've got one of Hanna-Barbera's most iconic characters, Yogi Bear.
Oh, wow, a cartoon people actually remember watching. What a concept. Yogi Bear deserves S tier for his longevity as a character alone. As a little trumpling, I remember spending many a Saturday afternoon watching Yogi and his platonic domestic life partner Boo Boo in their endless pursuit for pick and nick baskets to eat.
Ranger Rick is also a classic and beloved cartoon antagonist. You almost feel bad for the guy when Yogi always does inevitably find a way to steal those pick and nick baskets.
Couldn't agree more, Yogi, and S tier it is. Next up, we've got Jabberjaw, and I gotta be honest, I always thought this show was mid. The character is funny in theory, but the whole show is just another copy-paste of Scooby-Doo with 4 teenagers traveling alongside a talking animal and solving mysteries. I'm going to say this goes in C tier.
Couldn't agree more, Obama. If Jabberjaw doesn't get any respect, it's because he's a big bloated jackass who's always mucking things up for his friends. At least with Scooby, he might be a coward, but he isn't selfish and always does the right thing for his friends in the end. Put Jabberjaw in C tier and let's move on.
Speaking of next, we got everyone's favorite crime-solving canine, Scooby-Doo.
Immediate F tier.
Holy fucking shit, Joe, are you serious? Are you trying to get us roasted in the comments? Scooby-Doo is single-handedly Hanna-Barbera's longest-running and most beloved franchise. Countless spin-offs and movies going all the way back to the 1960s. It's been references in pop culture hundreds of times to the point where it's basically inseparable from American pop culture.
You might as well say you hate America. Sleepy Joe wouldn't know a good cartoon if it walked right up and bit him on the tip of his ding-dong.
Can I get a word in edgewise here without you two jumping down my throat? Scooby-Doo, Where Are You? Was and still is one of the best cartoons ever made. Every episode is as memorable as it is funny, and the voice actors on that show created characters that would stand the test of time. That being said, after a seemingly endless conveyor belt of reboots, spin-offs, and desperate cash grabs, Scooby-Doo is nothing but a hollow reminder of what once was. That Velma show was pandering neoliberal trash, and Scooby wasn't even in it.
Joe, I get where you're coming from, but you can't judge such an influential piece of animation history solely on where it wound up 60 years later. I do agree that Velma was straight basura, but that doesn't change the fact that Scooby-Doo is a bona fide legend and deserves nothing less than our utmost respect. I will be placing him in A tier, but I want to make it clear to the space station and the people at home that I do not feel good about this. Moving on, we've got the Banana Split Show, and I better not hear any more hipster bullshit in the chat because this show is B tier at best. The show itself still holds up as a fun live-action variety show, but all of the cartoons within the show are just sad, rejected pilots that never would have made it on the air without the Banana Splits there to pull the kids' attention back in with their fun, catchy songs and hilarious antics.
Bingo, Fleagle, Drooper, and Snorky rock harder than any band going today. Drooper as a guitarist makes Eddie Van Halen sound like Colleen Ballinger. Also, I don't know what you're on about because the cartoons on that show smacked. not to mention Danger Island, which should have been its own full live-action series. If Captain Caveman gets an A tier, then Three Musketeers and Arabian Nights should in no way impede the Banana Splits from getting one as well. By far one of Hanna-Barbera's most creative attempts to try something new while sticking to the ideas that made them so popular to begin with. Put all four of them in A-tier Obama, or I'm calling in a drone strike on your house.
I couldn't agree more, Donnie. I've got a tattoo of Snorky right above my...
Joe, for the love of God, please stop talking. Anyway, next up, we've got #1 super guy and all-around Giga-Chad, Kong Phooey. Any objections to putting him in S tier?
Not at all. Obama slapped that Chad right where he belongs, at the top of the rock. Kong Phooey is as chatty as a motherfucker gets. He's a mild-mannered janitor who consistently saves the day and asks for nothing in return. He's so famous and revered by his city that he could quit that dead-end broom pusher gig anytime, but accolades mean nothing to this smooth-talking kung fu badass. He's just here to get the job done. Also, I would smash Rosemary the telephone operator yesterday. What a babe.
Totally agree. Put that goated legend right in S tier. Voiced by none other than acclaimed musician actor Scatman Crothers, who also did the Kong Phooey theme song. I remember asking Santa for my own Phooey-mobile as a kid and being so disappointed that he didn't bring me one for Christmas that I constructed my own out of cardboard boxes and green paint.
Wow, look at you two getting along for once. S tier it is. Next up, we've got Fred Flintstone, and like a bad social media app, I gotta be real here. The Flintstones, despite being one of Hanna-Barbera's biggest shows, might be my least favorite cartoon on this list. Every episode contains the same 3 or 4 running gags, and Fred is by far the least interesting part of his own show. He merely exists so that all the other characters have someone to play off of, and at the end of the day, he's not even the coolest caveman on this list. I'm putting Fred Flintstone in B tier, but only out of respect to the franchise. I hope anyone who feels differently can make a clear case in the comments without getting mad.
Obama, are you fucking high? Fred Flintstone is the OG Giga Chad. He wifed up one of the hardest baddies in Bedrock, drives a cool car, and spends most of his time chatting it up with the bros down at the Water Buffalo Lodge. He's basically the prehistoric Tony Soprano.
Holy shit, you know, when you put it that way, it almost makes sense. Might have to give the show a rewatch with a whole new perspective. Point taken, Fred Flintstone will go in A tier. What do you say we take a quick break to raid Crash's weed stash and put on some classic Flintstones episodes? I'll order us some Dominoes while Joe looks for a bodega nearby that sells liquor.
Obama, you sexy imbecile bodegas don't sell liquor. Also, we're supposed to be in outer space, not Queens, you Horatius fuck nut.
Are we? I feel like the band hasn't really established their lore yet. Half of the time, it just kind of feels like Crash is throwing shit against the wall and seeing what sticks. Like they're all supposed to be Martians and robots and space ghouls. But he's still just some hairy Latino guy from the Bronx? I don't get it.
Well, he did stop that meteor from hitting the Earth that one time.
Whatever, that was only once, and it wasn't even that big.
It almost took out the entire eastern seaboard, Donnie.
Who the fuck cares? Nobody likes New Jersey anyway.
And on that note, we're going to go. Thanks again for tuning in. Don't forget to give us a like and smash that subscribe button. We'll catch you next time. But do us all a huge favor and be good till then.